Now, this SEL Recovery Framework didn't exist last year, right?
Right. This is, so that's why it's a separate website. This really came about based on the fact that we all transitioned to remote learning, and because of COVID-19, really. I think that COVID-19, we all know that that brought about, stress. It heightened emotions for people. And we really wanted to make sure that we are prepared to support our community when we restart school in the fall. And that's really what the purpose of the SEL Recovery Framework is providing resources. So as I mentioned earlier, we trained our staff in something called the person brain model. And the person brain model talks about that people are most successful when they feel safe, significant, respected, and related. So that's really the basis of this whole recovery plan. Once again, so if if we want to do a check, do we have systems in place for emotional safety, for physical safety, and for making things predictable for our staff, for our students, and for our teachers, knowing how it's going to be different. How is it going to feel different when you walk into your building and you now are wearing a mask and there are different procedures in place? It's just going to feel different. We want to make sure people are prepared for that. For significant, we really want people, what we know is that when people have a purpose and can focus on why they are doing something and that they bring value, that alone helps to alleviate stress and anxiety. When a person feels like they matter and they bring value to others, they do feel that they have more meaning. And so we want to make sure that we have systems in place that allow for everybody to have a voice, whether that's a student, a parent, or a staff member. Our district did put out a couple of surveys to our parents to ensure that we were getting their voice as we develop our plan for coming back to school in the fall, ensuring that we are addressing needs of the community. One thing that came out of that was the fact that our district opened up what's called the Westminster Public Schools Virtual Academy that's opening this fall. There are some people who really we found on the survey, who want to stick with that online learning. And so we used that data to be able to open up a new school in order to meet the needs of different preferences. So making sure that people feel significant and they have a voice and they're able to help drive things is very important. But making sure people feel respected. So this really has to do with understanding one another and taking the time to understand everyone is going through a different experience with COVID, and everyone has been impacted in a different way. So we want to honor that and honor the background of everyone and what they're dealing with. And probably one of the most important factors is here in feeling related. What we know about the brain is that we survive best when we are related with at least one other person. And so we survive best in the company of other people. And so we really want to make sure there are systems in place that promote relational connections, that offer a sense of belonging to every person. So how that looks from school to school is going to be specific to the building, but for some examples of these types of action steps that we're making sure we have in place to support social emotional well-being of students, you can see some example goals here. But all of the schools' plans, again, are going to look a little bit different because their teams are going to come up with systems that help everyone feel safe, significant, respected, and related. But just a couple of examples. One school instituted, they did see if I can pull this up, a sheet where people could ask questions. And that way the principal knows concerns, ideas. And then again, we want to tap into the strengths. What can people contribute? What are their passions? And so giving people that outlet is really important, getting back to voice. Simple strategies for integrating SEL, equipping people anyone can be a therapeutic helper. Not everyone is a therapist, but we can still support social emotional learning. So giving techniques that are concrete and easy to be incorporated across content areas, are important. So we would provide some support for teachers in this regard, or for educators. And then this really gets into strategies for teaching and our model for actually teaching SEL and what that looks like. So providing that framework, but we are not doing a one-size-fits-all approach. There are a variety of instructional resources that people prefer to use, and those are all listed over here. So we've got different curriculum and instructional resources that teachers are able to access to be able to really address, again, these skills for agency, these habits. And so these are our 5 buckets. This is our how, or our what are we teaching, and then the instructional resources and strategies kind of get into the how we teach it. And then some of the relevant topics for right now, really listening to what teachers need, what principals were asking for. We wanted to make sure we provided some of these tools so we are set for when we come back. People are asking quite a bit about some of these topics right now. And so we, if we go through, let's say, the anxiety and stress, for example. So providing some resources on how to approach that with students when they're feeling anxious and coming back to a new normal. This is an example of a presentation that principals can take and adapt to work with their staff, and just talking about different areas that pertain to anxiety and stress, for instance. Another topic right now that is very important to all of us is equity. So, are we really looking at our own biases right now and what is happening? So we just put together, again, different resources for our educators, that they can kind of pick what they need. So long as we are looking at the same skills of focus, and following the framework that we've set up.